In this video, I'm going to be comparing the Robin Hood franchise to the Tarzan franchise. I've seen the 1973 animated Robin Hood movie from Disney, along with the 2010 movie with Russell Crowe. Then I know I've seen one other Robin Hood movie. I think it was Prince of Thieves, if I remember right, but I'm not 100% confident. It was a long time ago that I watched this one. When it comes to Tarzan, I've seen the 1999 animated movie from Disney. I've seen Tarzan Legend of the Jungle from 2016, but not any of the others. There's 9 movies I've included here, only 5 Robin Hood movies. When it comes to the highest score for each franchise, you actually have 2 Tarzan movies, specifically Tarzan the Ape Man and Tarzan and His Mate, that have a 100%. In the case of Robin Hood, none of the movies I've included here are fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. They're all rotten. The highest score is only 58% for the 1973 movie, which I think is a shame because it's one I quite enjoyed. I don't get, honestly, why it is that critics didn't like it when it came out. I don't know what it is they saw in the film. And when it comes to the lowest score for each franchise, the 2018 Robin Hood movie only has a 14%. When you look at Tarzan, lowest score is a 20% for this film that came out in 2013, as well as Tarzan the Fearless. Then when you look at average score, Robin Hood only has an average of 41, while Tarzan has an average of 63. So Tarzan's won every round so far. And then when you look at gap between lowest and highest score, you have a gap of 44 in the case of Robin Hood and a gap of 80 in the case of Tarzan. So Robin Hood wins this round, but because Tarzan already won 3 rounds, it's going to win regardless of my personal opinion. And in this case, I would say that I prefer the Tarzan franchise. When it comes to Robin Hood, aside from the 1973 film, as I mentioned earlier, I know I've seen 3 different Robin Hood movies, but one of them I watched a long time ago, years back. I don't remember that much about it. I mean, I remember general things like Robin Hood's trying to stop this wedding from taking place. The lady doesn't really want the wedding to happen either. She's not very happy about this. Other than that, I don't really remember much about it. And I saw the 2010 Robin Hood movie with Russell Crowe sometime within the past few years. I can't recall exactly when I watched it. It was fine, but I don't really remember that much about what happened. Like, I remember general things. It's about this guy who is working for a king who ends up trying to save these people. As far as I can remember, I think the main character doesn't really become Robin Hood necessarily in the traditional sense, where you have a guy who steals from the rich to give to the poor. That's classic Robin Hood right there. You have that in the 1973 animated movie from Disney. When it comes to Tarzan, I quite enjoy the 1999 animated film. I think it's really good. I like the story being told about this guy who was raised by apes. I like the relationship between Tarzan and Jane. I mean, there's certainly at least one issue there. It's not perfect, but I like what we see in that regard. I think the animation holds up well. I think there's good voice acting here. I like the relationship between Tarzan and the apes. I enjoyed Tarzan Legend of the Jungle. I like that it's exploring this version of Tarzan that at first is living in England. He's trying to be a normal person, trying to fit into society, but then he ends up going back to the jungle. And then as the movie goes on, you see him gradually become more and more like the Tarzan until by the end of the movie, he's fully embraced it. He's fully back to being the Tarzan, the legend of the jungle that brings all the creatures together so they can fight against the humans. I remember having a good time with that one. So in this case, I would definitely easily say that I prefer the Tarzan franchise because you have 2 movies that I actually remember enjoying, whereas Robin Hood, you really have only one that I remember enjoying, which is a shame, to be honest, because obviously Robin Hood is a classic, iconic character. There's no doubt about that. I mean, this guy comes from comes from English folklore, just like Arthurian legend and mythology comes from English folklore. Robin Hood's the classic outlaw who steals from the rich to give to the poor. Everybody knows this character, but it seems to me that there hasn't really been a lot of good movies about Robin Hood, which is pretty unfortunate, I would say. Whereas I think there's been more good Tarzan movies. I mean, yeah, Tarzan feels a bit like Mowgli, that's true. There's some familiarity there, but I would definitely say I prefer the Tarzan franchise. They'll wrap things up for now.